Major production funding for Game Notes is provided by Hargrove Engineers and Constructors is proud to support LPB. Since 1995, Hargrove has been employee-owned and relationship-driven. With 2,700 teammates around the world, Hargrove works as one team to go beyond expectations.
You have what it takes to begin your journey: curiosity, ingenuity, intellect, determination. Through a vast portfolio of affordable and in-demand academic programs, hundreds of student-focused activities, and wraparound services, Southern University meets you where you are, giving you the tools and support that lead you to a successful career in the sciences or the arts. Begin with your goals anywhere. Finish stronger at Southern University at subr.edu.
The Rolf Pugh Agency is proud to support this program. Based in Louisiana, Rolf Pugh has provided marketing services nationwide since 1981, partnering with clients in healthcare, retail, automotive, and more. For more information, visit rpagency.com. With additional support from Lafayette Travel, the LSU Alumni Association, and the Cook Hotel and Conference Center at LSU, Louisiana Tech University, Natchitoches Regional Medical Center, Northwestern State University, Red Stick Sports, the U.S. Army Baton Rouge Recruiting Battalion, the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and viewers like you. Thank you. And we're off and running. Great to have you with us on this Saturday morning here for Game Notes on LPB. With my Super Bowl champion partner, Scott Shanley, I'm Victor Howell. For teams that played in Week 0, they're about to hit the quarter pole. For everybody else, it's Week 3 of the season. 2 teams on a bye this week in Louisiana, the Colonels from Nicholls, the Warhawks from ULM. But Scott, for everybody else, it's game day.
2 teams on a bye, but we have 2 teams in the state getting into conference play. And Louisiana Tech taking on New Mexico State, and the LSU Tigers taking on some team from Florida. There might be some big matchups over the years with those guys.
And they're not too happy. We're going to talk about that and so much more as we get you ready for Game Notes. Here's what's on tap, and we'll start down in New Orleans where we'll be focusing on the green and the blue. The Green Wave from Tulane welcoming the Blue Devils from Duke out of the ACC, and a very familiar name now leading the offense for Duke. Up in Baton Rouge, the Southern Jaguars did play Week 0, so they're heading into the 4th game of the season, and there are some changes in the coaching staff and the responsibilities. We'll talk about that. And we'll get into the big food debate, the great chili debate, because one of our teams is heading to Cincinnati. What about Skyline Chili? Have you had it? We'll talk about that with Scott here in just a moment. But first, let's focus on one of the bigger games here in the state, and it will take place down in New Orleans at Yeoman Stadium. The Tulane Green Wave, now 2-0 on the season, getting ready to welcome Duke. They've already beaten Northwestern out of the Big Ten. SEC opponent Ole Miss is next for Tulane, and tonight it comes out of the ACC with the Duke Blue Devils. So how did Tulane get to 2-0 and get in this position where they are really rolling with momentum? Well, we go back 1 week ago. They were outside of Mobile playing South Alabama, major Applewhite's team, who punched Tulane in the mouth early, 14-0 right out of the gates. But then, Scott, it was a 27-0 run by Tulane. That's when the Green Wave woke up.
Yeah, we said last week, watch out for this South Alabama team, especially offensively. Good coach in Major Applewhite. And they did. They got down early, but I think a sign of a really good football team and a team that's battle-tested is being able to handle adversity and playing all 4 quarters instead of just worrying about what happens in the first few plays of the game.
Yeah, now sitting at 2-0 for the 4th time since 2002 is Tulane. After that big win in the ground games with Barry Mobley, 11 carries, 82 yards. Jake Retzlaff at quarterback, 125 passing yards and 77 rushing. But here comes Darian Mensah, 723 passing yards on the season, 5 touchdowns. This is the young man that ran the Tulane offense 1 year ago. Tonight he comes in as the opponent.
And there's always a little more extra fun when you see a former teammate come back home and he went to another school. It's a different day and age. Guys are going to the portal. Financially, there's things to be had in the portal. But it's a little bit more fun when you face a former teammate as a player.
Yeah, but when it comes to John Sumrall and his staff facing this quarterback, no hatred between Tulane and Mensah.
I've said this publicly, like, if you play 1 snap, 100 snaps, 1,000 snaps for me, I'll love you for the rest of my life. Like, care about him, wish him well. I saw him this summer. I got nothing but love for Darian.
He had nothing but positive things to say about his experience down there. They did a phenomenal job with him. And so, he gets to just show everybody where he is on his development curve.
You can tell he's a year stronger, a year more mature. Like when we got here and he was a true freshman, he looked like a young guy because he was a young guy. And then, going into last season, he was a little bit stronger. Going into this season, he's a little bit stronger. And so I'd say he's able to drive the ball down the field a little bit better, and he's making all the throws well. He's throwing the ball well on the move. He's doing a lot of good things, and their pass game's good. And And they got really good receivers too. I mean, these receivers are the best group of receivers we've played in my time here.
All right, Scott, so correct me if I'm wrong when you look at this evaluation. Their receivers might be good, but time of possession, Duke is 123rd in the country, under 26 minutes a game. Tulane, 23rd in the country, just under 34 minutes. That tells me when the passing game is working for Duke, it's okay. But they don't have any run support, and Mensah can't do it all by himself.
Yeah, a little bit of that time of possession oddity there was last week. They got down to Illinois, and Illinois kind of pushed them around, and they had got into a hurry-up pass. They had to get into a passing game to catch back up. But if you can't handle the line of scrimmage with Tulane, and I said it before, Tulane, to me, is a playoff team because they play so well at the line of scrimmage. You have to be able to run the ball, otherwise it's going to be a long day against that front.
Yeah, you look for the Green Wave to really kind of wear them down and lean on them tonight. And by the way, one other statistic to keep a note on in this one, when it comes to turnovers, Duke is 134th in the country. They've already turned the ball over 6 times. Tulane, second in the country. They are a +6. Huge category. And I know you talk about how turnovers lead to points, making a difference in the game. That's a massive category.
Yep, takeaways and giveaways. If you can take the ball away defensively, you give your team a huge chance to win. We've gone through the percentages before. You just need to be +1. Take the ball away one more time than you give it away, and you're up to 80% chance of winning football games. So it's all about takeaways and giveaways.
So the ACC heads to New Orleans to take on Tulane out of the American. The Sun Belt and Louisiana, they are in SEC country in a game that's about to kick off. It was a 3 o'clock kick. It's now been moved up a lot earlier here, where they'll be kicking off at noon in Missouri. Let's take you and show you about the Cajuns and what's going on with them from 1 week ago, where they got a nice win. In fact, it was the first win of the season at home when they were taking on McNeese as the Cowboys made the trip down I-10. The Cajuns enter this game against Missouri today with a 6-game road win streak that they're putting on the line. The game was set for 3, as I mentioned. They moved up because of concerns with the heat that this game will now kick off at noon. Ball control will be important. Missouri ranked 9th in the country. Cajuns 96th in the country. You have to do it with the run game. That's what they've been doing. But the Cajuns still having some issues and struggling with the passing game at quarterback.
We're not nearly as crisp as we want to be in the throw game. And that's something that we're going to work, to get cleaned up. I don't see why we can't do that. I think we have all the capabilities to be able to throw the ball really well. You worry sometimes these things turn into like a big thing, and I don't want it to be that, because I think we've got plenty of ability in that room. We talked about it kind of going the season. The issues that people were talking about at receiver, for us, we were kind of not really concerned about it. We felt like, what we'd seen in spring and summer and all that stuff, we're in a really good spot. And I still feel that way. We just got to execute a little bit cleaner.
And I think the running backs are the guys that give me the most anxiety, just because of their ability to they've got 2 different style of running backs, but their ability to get the ball on the perimeter, and they're really hard to tackle. I mean, they're built very similar to Ahmad. We know that's a difficult style to get to the ground.
Of course, when he says Ahmad, he means Ahmad Hardy, who was a star for Monroe last year as a freshman and made the move to Missouri. Bill Davis and Dylan Perry, the 2-headed monster at running back. But, Scott, when you look at the numbers, and we know where Louisiana is struggling in the passing game, you have a redshirt freshman at quarterback in Daniel Beal. What can Louisiana do to help him get some confidence in a tough place to play and in the SEC? Yeah,
it's all about the play calling. Obviously, defensively, you can help out a young quarterback by playing well and not putting him in position to have to catch up and play from behind, because that's when those pass rushers tee off. So you put him in position to play well by your offensive play selection, running wide receiver screens, quick 5-yard outs by the tight end, easy throws to give him some confidence early in the game.
And don't forget, it's a noon kick now up in Missouri between the Cajuns and the Tigers. Back in Baton Rouge now, 3 games in, having played in week 0, a 1-2 record for the Southern Jaguars. And on the bluff, Terrence Graves is starting to make some moves when it comes to coaching positions. Graves himself is inserting himself to be more active in special teams, both in the kicking game and the return game. Some missed opportunities on getting points on both sides, so Terrence Graves is going hands-on for special teams. But he also made a bigger announcement early this week. Fred McNair, who is the quarterback coach for the Jaguars, has now been given the title of co-offensive coordinator, and he will now be responsible for calling the plays for the Jaguar offense. Mark Frederick still holds the offensive coordinator title, but now the responsibilities shift over to McNair. And early this week, Terrence Graves talked about why he's making that move right now.
The reason why we're doing it is simply because he's a veteran coach, he's a championship coach, he's been an OC, and he can add his wisdom and expertise to what we're doing to help ourselves out. So that's what we're going to do, and we're excited about it. Everybody's all on board, and those are the changes we feel we have to make in order to give ourselves a chance. Like I said, we got a good football team, so we got to do whatever we need to do to make sure that we get this train on the right track.
Scott, the issues in their games have both come in the second half when the offense has slowed down. You see where they are in terms of their averages, but you see right in the middle, passing yards. They're 12th in the SWAC. That's dead last, 130 yards. A lot of these passes have hit receivers, and there's drops. But when it comes time to being efficient, that's why he feels like making this move might give them a boost.
Yeah, it's really about efficiency on the offense side of the ball. Usually you like to see that you run the football well, but it's also you have to throw the football. This day and age of football, to be effective offensively, to move the football in between the 20s and get yourself close to those red zone opportunities, you have to be able to throw the football consistently. And if you're anything below 50% completion rate, it's tough to win.
Southern's going on the road tonight to play Fresno. It's a late kick, Central Time, 9 o'clock. We'll see what they can do out on the road on the West Coast. Staying in the SWAC, let's talk about the Grambling Tigers, who, as we know, were on the road 1 week ago at the Horseshoe, facing #1 Ohio State. Grambling's glad to be heading back home. It was a shutout loss to the #1 Buckeyes. Now, you remember last week, Mickey Joseph admitted to everyone they knew what this game was. He didn't say it, but we all know it was a paycheck game. And he wanted to stay healthy. And he added the band was going and that their band is good, which it is. Well, evidently, Grambling Nation took some of those comments the wrong way, thinking that maybe Joseph was shortchanging the football team. So once he got back home, Joseph sent a message to them to relax.
In 2025, it's levels to college football. So if anybody thought I didn't have confidence in my kids, I was nervous because I knew how my kids was going to play. They was going to play hard and fight that uphill battle. Sometimes as adults, we got to watch what we tell our kids and what you say about the person that's leading them. I'm not worrying about me. I worry about my kids. I had more confidence in my kids than you probably had. My kids fought, my coaches fought, and I'm proud of them. I won't take it back what I said, because I wasn't going to come out and say, we're going to go toe-to-toe with Ohio State. I wasn't going to come out and say that. That's not 28 years of experience if I came out and said that. But I'm always going to believe in my kids, and I always give them confidence. And if you know me personally, you know my daddy didn't raise a guy that didn't have confidence. Look at the history of my family.
Look, let's be honest, Scott. On your best day and on Ohio State's worst day, you're losing 42-7.
Yeah.
You got blanked against the #1 team that has 100 players and a $20 million payroll. You've got 63, 65 guys, and you just wanted to get home healthy. So for those who took Mickey Joseph's words the wrong way, you need to sit back and reevaluate a little bit. He was just being honest. I wanted a clean game. I want to come back healthy, but we're going to go compete. He made a comment about the band. So what? The band's outstanding. They went out there. He knew what was going on. We all knew what was going on. I think things got a little twisted.
Yeah, I think the band kept it lighthearted because, you know, the one thing in the extended interview by Mickey, he talked about the success Ohio State's had in the country in football the last 10 years in the conference, but he didn't mention how many draft picks Ohio State's had. I mean, that is a machine. It's a gauntlet of NFL players. And I think anytime it's a tough situation for Mickey because you want to have your players believe they can win any matchup they go into. But there's also being reasonable. And Ohio State's the #1 or close to being the best team in the country. They've won championships in the last 15 years. So it was a tough position, but I thought Mickey handled it well post-game.
Well, and you know Mickey from his playing days. We've seen what he did at LSU on the staff there for the 2019 championship game. Look, and you mentioned it. Go enjoy the experience. 70,000, 80,000, sold out, #1 team. But be healthy, play smart, play straight, give it your best shot. He wasn't throwing in the towel. I agree with you. It was lighthearted and have fun. But I can see where they took it the wrong way. But to be vocal about it, I just think you're kind of losing the focus.
Yeah, and the focus is the key word. I think a lot of times people think you have to have just this stare down, game face at all times to win games. It's actually the opposite. Some of the best teams I've been on are guys are having fun. They're joking in the huddle. We're in the second quarter. It's a 10-10 game, and guys are having fun. And sometimes I think that was Mickey's idea of making the band comment. Like, let's just go up there. We're going to try to compete every single play. Don't look at the scoreboard, but let's have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they are home, and they'll be facing Kentucky State. In Baton Rouge, there's a big-time, prime-time showdown game tonight inside of Tiger Stadium where the #3 LSU Tigers will be welcoming a deflated or an angry Florida Gators team.
I'm not a big fan of the Florida Gators. I think I've made that pretty evident throughout my time here. So it's an awesome opportunity. You know, it's a great team, obviously a great program, very storied rivalry, very storied team that we're playing, and so I just can't wait to get in Death Valley, you know, and feel that environment. It's going to be pretty exciting. As we said all offseason, we're looking to go 1-0 again.
Funny how you said he's made it very clear he doesn't like the Florida Gators. I'm wondering if that's because last year he spent so much time on the swamp turf. Remember,
That'll do it.
That was a ranked LSU team that went into Gainesville and came out with a loss. That was a game, 6 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. Now, I bring that up, and we're going to look at some of what happened last year because, Scott, it leads me to this. 1 week ago, you got a win against Louisiana Tech at home. Lackluster as it was, 23-7. In that game, they got to Nussmeier 3 times with 8 tackles for loss. Here comes Florida out of the SEC. They're angry. They're embarrassed. So what does LSU have to do to avoid what happened last year in Gainesville, spending all that time in the backfield?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is you have to show the Florida Gators against South Florida and say this is not the same team you're going to see this week. It's just not. I think both teams were guilty of looking forward last week. Fortunately for LSU, they came out with a victory and Florida didn't. Both teams were looking forward to this game. It's just the nature of the game. You look at the schedule, you want to play in these big-time matchups, and you probably thought last week's game were a speed bump. So the offensive line's got to protect Nussmeier. When he stands in the pocket and gets time, he's as good as there is in the country. It's when he doesn't get time and he gets rushed, he forces some balls. That's when the turnovers come. So keep a tight end in, keep a running back in to help chip, but Florida's going to bring some pressure.
Remember, last year there were 2 offensive linemen that are now in the NFL for LSU. Of note, Braylon Moore, SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week from Week 1, is back. Practiced fully Wednesday and Thursday for the Tigers, so that could be a good sign. But Gator Nation's in flux when it comes to confidence in their team and their coach. After losing at home to South Florida, Billy Napier addressed that this week.
Got to turn the page, and that is physical, that's mental, and that is emotional. And I think it's really important. You know, what are we going to do with the lessons that we learned, and what are we going to do with the emotions that we feel? You know, it's all about application. You know, how do we channel this emotion? Do we have the maturity to turn it around? And I think it's really important that our team channels that in the right direction.
If you out-execute anybody that's desperate, the guy that out-executes wins over the guy that's desperate. That doesn't win games. What wins games is execution.
That Florida team desperate because of that embarrassing loss at home. And look, Brian Kelly also said earlier this week, Scott, if you're coming to this game thinking it's going to be 55-0, you're tuning into the wrong game. Florida, for years, has been the permanent SEC East versus West opponent for LSU. These games are always tight. It's an SEC matchup, as you mentioned, so conference games are always different.
No doubt about it. And I'll go back. I think both these teams were looking forward to this matchup last week. You get into those big games. LSU opens the season against Clemson. You get in that environment, and all you want to do is keep playing in those type of environments. So I think both teams were looking forward to this game. And it's going to determine a lot, I think, the way the season goes for Florida, especially. After last week's upset, you have a chance to come out and make a statement. I agree. I think Coach Kelly said it perfect. Technique and fundamentals will always beat desperation. So if your team, which I think LSU is a better team than Florida, if you just go out there and execute, you'll beat Florida no matter how determined or desperate they are.
And the advantage for LSU, you're at home.
Exactly.
Home crowd,
it's a huge advantage.
Nighttime in Tiger Stadium, if you could jump on them early, now maybe you start even putting more doubt into it. That means more desperation. That would be good news for the Tigers. Yeah. We'll see. But it's a 6:30 kick. It'll be nationally televised on ABC, and we look forward to seeing that one. As for the Demons from Northwestern State, they just came back from Minnesota. Now they're heading right back up north to go to Cincinnati. But the topic this week, chili.
Have you ever heard of Skyline chili?
No, I have not, and I don't even want to try it.
I have heard of it. I've never had it. I'm not really too big of a chili type of guy, but I have heard of it. My brother is in Cincinnati, so you know, we'll see about it. I've never had it though.
You played up at, I'm sure in your time in the NFL, you ever had Skyline chili? That was a big topic this week in Natchitoches.
Yes, I have tried it. Just playing at the Cincinnati Bengals, because when you have pregame meal or whatever snack, wherever you go play, they usually serve you kind of their specialty. So yes, I do remember trying it. I don't remember liking it. They had their own chips and barbecue sauce. I remember that more than I remember the chili.
Well, I know the team is really focused on when to get back to work on the field. Look, the game against Minnesota got away from them, but if you're the Demons from Northwestern State, you just went up there to the Big Ten. Now you're coming back, and now you're going back to the Big 12. How do you refocus and try to put a shutout loss to Minnesota behind you?
Well, it's tough because you're facing another quality opponent. Cincinnati is an outstanding football team. And just like you faced a week ago against Minnesota, big, strong running backs, big, strong wide receivers, big linemen in the offensive line, it's going to be the same thing. Now, there's an advantage to that. As a player, now you're not shocked. You've seen it. You're used to it. After 1 week, I'm not saying what the result's going to be, but you're used to going against that type of body type and that type of speed, so you'll be adjusted this week.
Well, a lot of fans will notice what took place on the scoreboard last week against Minnesota, and maybe to you there was something late in the game that didn't mean much, if at all. But the head coach, Blaine McCorkle, it's something he noticed, and it's why he defines this team as being different.
The biggest example of that, I think, was the goal line stand at the end of the game, right before the game was called because of lightning, not because of anything else. Make that very clear, because of lightning and not anything else. And our kids were fighting to the end, where last year in an FBS game, when things got away from us a little bit, that goal line stand was not going to happen.
This is not the same team from last year. You know, we took a couple L's last year, and, you know, the team just got so down. And I don't see that with this team. We came together this summer. You know, we're stronger than ever. So, you know, we're not going to dwell on that loss too much. We're going to continue to, you know, continuing improvement and show up to Cincinnati prepared and ready to fight.
It's another day. We got to work just as hard as we just worked, or we're never going to win. That, you know, winning is tough in the world of college football. So if you're not working as hard as possible every day, you know, results are going to be bad.
I think that's a perfect example of what I've been talking about how much this team has grown in culture, character, and maturity. And I think a lot of that just comes with, you know, now that we're a full year into this thing as a staff here at Northwestern State, they understand the expectations, they understand the standards, they understand, you know, how hard we work, how we play, and who we're going to be as a football team.
Well, it's a 2-week run against Power 4 opponents, but they'll be up in Cincinnati. It's a 2:30 kick this afternoon. Brendan Sorsby, 402 passing yards for the Bearcats, 136 rushing yards. This game will be broadcast for Demon fans who want to watch it. You can see it on ESPN+. The Cowboys from McNeese, after losing 1 week ago in Lafayette, they head back home. Weber State, winless on the season, makes a trip to Navarre Stadium. They'll be playing on the McNeese campus. Look at what Jake Strong's done for McNeese. 520 passing yards, 3 touchdowns so far this season. It's been a bit of a struggle for Jackson Gilkey for Weber State. That game kicks off at 6 o'clock tonight over in Lake Charles, and you can see that game as well on ESPN+. As it comes to the Lions from Southeastern, they're going home.
It'd be a great test for us, but I'm looking forward to it. Look, being home is what's the most important thing. Being on the road those first 2 weeks is, it's tough on the football team. So we're looking forward to being here in the confines of Strawberry Stadium, having a great crowd, making some noise, tailgating, the student body, the whole 9 yards. And, can't wait to see everybody here.
Yeah, Scott, the big news for the Lions after the loss at Louisiana Tech, you go on the road, the big win against Murray State, which was in their conference level, which was a much more important win for them. Finally back home in Hammond when they bring in the Delta Devils from Mississippi Valley today.
Yeah, there's nothing like going back home. Anytime you're struggling, you want to play your best football. All it takes is that jolt of energy from your home crowd to get you going. Seeing that familiar compound where you're used to seeing it every day will get you right a lot of times in football.
Yeah, and they're certainly bringing the confidence from the road win that they had 1 week ago. It's a 6 o'clock kick tonight over there in Hammond. If you can make it to Strawberry Stadium, should be a great evening. If not, you can catch it on TV. It'll be broadcast on ESPN+. The Bulldogs from Louisiana Tech back in Ruston, and this is one of those games where we're going good, bad dogs. The good dogs from 1 week ago, well, look at what they did for LSU. They only gave up 23 points. You heard Sonny Cumbie a week ago talk about, hey, well, if they're going to kick a field goal at the end of the ballgame as an SEC team against us, I take that as respect. The defense was outstanding, as I mentioned earlier. 3 sacks on Nussmeier, 8 tackles for loss. But on the other side, the bad dogs. Scott, it's that offense. They're trying to find that rhythm, and it just hasn't come for the Bulldogs so far.
Yeah, the Louisiana Tech defense is playing some good defense. Their 3 linebackers are really outstanding players. But offensively, they got to find a rhythm. We said going into the season, we're deciding between multiple quarterbacks. Yep. And so you're going to probably see different guys coming in and see if they can get some tempo going with this offense.
And to that point, Sonny Cumbie this week during practice has been rotating all the quarterbacks.
Rotating this week, we'll have a guy on Saturday. We're going to rotate all the guys through this week and see how it looks. And the number one thing, they've done a really good job at that position is they've taken care of the football from that standpoint. So it gives you a chance when you have 0 turnovers through the first 2 games. But we have to have more production at that position, and we'll find a guy that'll be productive.
Yeah, 0 turnovers is very impressive indeed, but just look at how these two teams match up going into today. 97 rushing yards for Louisiana Tech, just over 110 yards for the game in the time of possession. Again, Scott, if you can't get that offense consistently and hold on to the ball, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, all you have to do is look at that 3rd down conversion percentage to know you're struggling offensively. If you just can't stay on the field, obviously it's hard to produce points and get those yards in between the 20s. But I think for this team, I think Evan Bullock, who played a lot last year as a freshman, I think you have to really look at going back to him. He doesn't give you quite what the other ones do with the legs. He's more of a pocket passer, but I think he was really productive as a freshman, and I think you have to look at introducing that back into your offense, the pocket passer and throwing from the pocket and getting better in the passing game.
Yeah, we'll see what Sonny Cumbie decides with the quarterback, and as you mentioned at the top of the program, that is a conference game, the first one in Conference USA this season for Louisiana Tech. before we say goodbye from football, because we want to congratulate the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame in Natchitoches as they have just announced their induction class for the class of 2026. John Brady, former LSU head coach who led the team to a Final Four in Indianapolis, is in there. How about Big Sil, Sylvia Fowles, just inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame, a dominant Olympian and player in the WNBA. Joe Horn with the Saints, somebody Scott's going to know very well. Mike McConaughey, he's going to have Natchitoches jumping. The longtime coach of Northwestern State going in. Warren Morris, college baseball's most famous home run, the walk-off in the bottom of the ninth for LSU. And some NFL names that I know you're very familiar with that you see on the screen with Williams and also Mr. McClure.
Joe Horn did a lot more than flip a cell phone. That guy was an outstanding player. McClure was an all-pro at center for our hated Falcons. Pat Williams was one of the best defensive tackles in the game as long as he plays. So really good football players.
Yeah, congratulations to the Hall of Fame and that class of 2026 who will be inducted next summer. But that's down the road. We're ready to kick off some football for a full day of Saturday action. Enjoy it, and then we will see you back tomorrow night for post-game notes. For Scott Shanley, I'm Victor Howell. Thanks for joining us on Game Notes.
Major production funding for Game Notes is provided by Hargrove Engineers and Constructors is proud to support LPB since 1995. Hargrove has been employee-owned and relationship-driven. With 2,700 teammates around the world, Hargrove works as one team to go beyond expectations.
You have what it takes to begin your journey: curiosity, ingenuity, intellect, determination. Through a vast portfolio of affordable and in-demand academic programs, hundreds of student-focused activities, and wraparound services, Southern University meets you where you are, giving you the tools and support that lead you to a successful career in the sciences or the arts. Begin with your goals anywhere. Finish stronger at Southern University at subr.edu.
The Rolf Pugh Agency is proud to support this program. Based in Louisiana, Rolf Pugh has provided marketing services nationwide since 1981, partnering with clients in healthcare, retail, automotive, and more. For more information, visit rpagency.com.
With additional support from Lafayette Travel, the LSU Alumni Association, and the Cook Hotel and Conference Center at LSU, Louisiana Tech University, Natchitoches Regional Medical Center, Northwestern State University, Red Stick Sports, the U.S. Army Baton Rouge Recruiting Battalion, the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and viewers like you. Thank you.